What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market is going, I just want to say there's a big sell-off right now. SPY is down about 2%. The QQQ is down over 3.5%. And we're also seeing a lot of tech stocks in the red. Nvda is down 10%, Tesla's down 3%. So why is the market selling off like this? Why is there a big sell-off right now? What on earth is going on? Well, there's this news right over here that came out. The news came out that U.S. stocks were set for a steep sell-off on Monday morning after a surprise advancement from a Chinese AI company known as DeepSeek, threatening the aura of invincibility surrounding the U.S. technological industry. So keep that in mind. DeepSeek is a one-year-old startup company that revealed a stunning capability. It presented a chat GPT-like AI model known as R1, which has all the familiar capabilities operating at a fraction of the cost of OpenAI's, Google's, or Meta's popular AI models. The company said that it spent about $5.6 million training its newest AI model, compared with the hundreds of millions of or billions of dollars that the U.S. companies have spent on their AI technologies. So that's the first time we got an ultra low cost for AI development. That sent shockwaves through the entire tech sector, at least for Monday. We saw Meta once again talk about how they're going to be spending about $65 billion on AI development, and many others out there are saying that they would need trillions of dollars of investments to support the development of in-demand chips. So this adds a lot of questions to, a lot of this notion about how expensive it is to develop AI in the US, whereas another, relatively unknown AI startup is able to create an AI model that's just as advanced with much, much cheaper prices. So that's what reports are saying. I would actually want to really look into it just to determine the legitimacy of their numbers. That's my opinion. But once again, if that's the case, you have to give them a lot of credit where it's due. That's still very, very impressive, and that's going to lead to a lot of investors kind of questioning the dominance and the positions that these U.S. companies really have. So Nvidia is down over 8% in the pre-market. Now I think it's down like 10%. We're seeing a lot of tech stocks in the red, and this caused a big AI semiconductor sell-off, which is dictating the broader markets. Now, for today, we do have new home sales data coming out at 10 a.m., not to mention some bill auctions at 11:30. May cause a tiny bit of volatility, but it's nothing too crazy. And now I think that this is going to be trumped by the AI news. And then we just had SoFi and a few more announced their earnings. Later on for the week, we have big tech earnings. So we'll see if they address these claims about AI and the costs involved. That's going to be very important. But SoFi stock is down 13% because their guidance was a little bit lackluster, falling short of expectations. Once again, they introduced their guidance of about a midpoint of 26 cents per share, which is below expectations previously. And then their revenue was so-so, at least for what we're expecting. So their guidance was not as strong, despite the fact that they had decent earnings. That's why the share price is down for SoFi. Once again, if anything, I would say that U.S. companies have made so much advancements. They're absolutely incredible. But once again, these other, Chinese companies, some of them claim that they're able to develop, very, very amazing AI models for just $6 million compared to the billions US tech companies are using. So that's very, very interesting. This is leading to a lot of concerns. And this is leading to, a lot of questions about the AI developments and investments being put into American companies, So I just wanted to call that out. I would like to look more into it, though, just to see, all the capabilities and to truly verify if it costs only that much. But like I said before, if that truly is the case, very impressive stuff. And it does lead to a lot of questions about, costs and factors like that. So that's why there's this like big sell-off right now. The market is still looking lackluster. Looking at SPY, I want to see SPY reclaim 598. If we do hold above 598, we look for that potential gap fill or an attempt to retest our 20 EMA around 602. That's the bullish case. The bearish case is if we can't reclaim 597 to 598, if we kind of pop like this and reject, this will likely continue to, dump all the way back down to the low 590s. So please keep that in mind. I also want to call out that SPY is currently at 595, sure, but you have to remember that we have a lot of gaps to fill. We haven't We have this gap at like 594. There's another gap to fall all the way down here around 584. We haven't even filled that gap yet, so you want to be very careful with the way SPY is moving. We're gapping down pretty hard, and we still have that unfilled gap at 584. So I suspect what's going to happen is we might attempt to try to get back above 597, but if we can't reclaim 598, we're going to likely continue to dip all the way to the lower 590s to continue to ride this trend line. This could drag us lower as time goes on, so please be very, very careful, guys. There's going to be that risk of downside. If SPY cannot hold 590, I think we fill the gap to 584, so keep that in mind. So break 598, we could try to bounce. If not, watch 590 is the main support. If that does not hold us, 584 is coming. So I hope that's as clear as possible. QQQ is looking very lackluster as well. I want to see it reclaim 515. If we reclaim that, we could attempt for 520. But if we can't hold above, the 514 area, I'm going to be looking for some downside risk. So move just like this. And we could continue to ride this trend line down and start dipping to the low 500s if we get a rejection. So be careful. As of right now, the market still looks heavy and weak. For the Russell, it's not as down compared to the others out there, but we still have these gaps to fill. We need to see if we can reclaim 227 to bounce to 230. If we can't reclaim 227, this may continue to fall all the way down to like 224 or below. So keep that in mind. For ES, we got this big rejection right here. We're looking for a resistance at 6,025. And if we reject it, we could continue to just ride this trend line down. This yellow trend line has been our resistance becoming our support. So I think what's going to happen to ES is we retest these EMAs between 60.25 and 60.50, maybe a little bit below that. And then we'll see if we get a rejection to continue to fall like this. If we get back above 60.50, though, we could try to bounce. Otherwise, if we can't do that, we're going to continue to downtrend. That's looking a bit more probable to me. NQ is going to try to do the same thing. It may attempt to test this zone right over here. The 21,200 zone. Could it go a little higher? It's possible. It tries a small rebound. But then if it cannot get back above like 21,500, we could just reject slowly and make our way right back down just like this. So just keep that in mind, guys. We'll be watching that very, very closely. We have to see if we could try to reclaim our support or not, especially at 21,200. Then if we do reclaim that, we could try to push a bit more. But I would love to see us reclaim 21,500 at the very least, a bounce. Otherwise, we could just see another rejection. Bitcoin is barely at 100,000. We'll have to see if we could hold above this 200 EMA. If we can't, this will likely start dipping to about 97,000, thus dragging other equities down. Nvda is looking very bearish. We need to try to reclaim 130. If we can't get back above 130, I think this is going to be a risk of continuing to fall back down towards 123 or even 120 flat. Tesla is looking a little bit weak. So our main support is currently at 383 on Tesla. Our 200 EMA is right there. If we reclaim just under 398, if we could reclaim 398, it's possible Tesla tries to fill this gap back up to 405. And if we reject and we can't hold above 383, we're looking for a dump closer to about 375. My gut tells me this may rebound for like 395 before it starts tipping lower. And I think the 380s become a stronger possibility, especially like 385. So keep that in mind. For Aapl, we're on a bit of a downtrend. However, we're trying to base at 220. As long as this holds, we're going to be looking for 224.7 as resistance and 220 as our support. If we reclaim this and break past this, we're looking for a bounce. So just keep that in mind, guys. That's what we're essentially seeing, at least thus far. So there is an attempt by Aapl to try to base at this key level. We were talking about that for quite a while. I think what's going to likely happen is it's going to remain range bound for some time. We'll be watching to see if buyers try to defend it or not. And then we'll see if we end up losing our key support at that 220 zone. I don't think we're doing that yet. I think we're just going to likely be range bound for the time being. And I find that to be the most likely possibility. Going back to the next ticker, I just want to mention that we also happen to have the rest of these tickers. So we have like coin right over here. We're watching these key levels to see if we end up losing 283. If that were to fail us, I will be expecting more downside, by the way. So just keep that in mind. And then if we get a bounce, you want to see us reclaim 291 to start filling this gap up to about 300. In my opinion, I think it still looks kind of lackluster, so just keep that in mind. There's still a lot of sellers who are present, so be very, very careful with it. For the rest of these, what's going to likely happen is we might rebound and start dipping. If we lose 283, we're looking for a dump to about like the 270s. Amazon might be retesting 227. If we reject it, we could be dipping closer to about 222. Meta is rejecting. We need to try to get back above 630. Otherwise, we favor 620, then eventually the 610 area for that rejection. Looking at others such as Microsoft, we're rejecting here. We need to try to get back above 429. Otherwise, when you look at the daily charts, we have another gap down here. We're still filling. We filled this big gap here, and we could continue to fall. It's about 418 if that fails us. And then we have Google. Google is currently at 194. If we could reclaim 197, we could bounce. If not, this is going to be at risk of continuing to fall. Watch 188 as our main support if that fails us. So if 190 fails us, look at 188. Eventually, this gap fill for 177. Anyways, with that being said, guys, the market came down. We were expecting this. I called this out in my video since Friday. I was expecting some kind of sell-off. And lo and behold, we got the sell-off to start filling these gaps. Thank you for listening, guys. I'll talk more about my analysis and such later on. Until then, have a good day and peace out.